All right. We're live on the Facebook.
All righty.
All right, let's go 3, 2, and 1. Well, hello, everyone. Welcome back to another episode of Persuasion by the Pint. I am Jonathan Taylor, along with
Sean McCool. And today, Jonathan, we have a special guest sitting in the green room waiting for us to do our thing and bring him on.
Yes, indeed. We have serial entrepreneur Matt Shoup. He's got a couple of books out. He's got one out, and then he's got one that is on the way. But he is a really cool story. I had him on one of my industry podcasts last week. It was a great interview. I think you'll love his story, Sean. He has founded 6 successful companies and grown them all from the ground up. And what I love about this is like, you remember Michael Gerber's E-Myth, about working. Most business owners are really, they're technicians with an entrepreneur seizure. I think that's the line, if I remember correctly.
Yeah.
But like they're too busy working inside their business. And he is a prime example of someone who has really learned how to work on the outside of the business, all to the point of just literally firing himself from his own company. And he's going to tell us about that. So I'm really happy to have him on. He is the founder of a painting company, M&E Painting, and started this company with $100 to his name, all while being close to $200,000 having $200,000 in personal debt. He's grown that company to the point where it produces over $30 million in revenue, or has since 2005. His company
that's almost as good as crypto right there, man. That's 100 to 30 million.
Almost, yeah.
Almost. It's not quite Dogecoin, but
it's his company was named one of the U.S. top workplaces by Inc. magazine and a winning workplace in 2011. One of Colorado's top 250 private companies, and made the Inc. 5000 list back when, like 5 years into it, I think, fastest growing companies in the United States. So he's been featured in a lot of publications like Inc. magazine, Entrepreneur, BBC, Fox Small Business. And we're happy to have him join us for, as we said, a little bit of just persuasion, talking just some of the marketing lessons. He's actually more of a marketing, that's his specialty, marketing and sales, and you'll learn that from talking with him. So he's going to give us some good videos.
Let's fire up the audience and bring him on.
Welcome to the show, Mr. Matt Shoup.
That's it.
Shoup, not shop.
I get a ticker and I get cheers. I love it.
Absolutely. Everyone gets. Yeah, you get an artificial cheer and a ticker. So
it's the big leagues here on Persuasion by the Pint.
Hey, thanks for coming on, spending some time with us.
Absolutely, happy to be here. I'm excited.
Yeah. Good. It's a little early for us. We're normally cranking up at 3 o'clock Central, but we made exception for you. Doing a little bit early today, but we won't make exceptions on what we like to do at the beginning of the show, right, Sean?
Yes. So, my beer's getting warm as we're talking. So let's dive into the beverages. And Matt, we're going to let you go first as a guest. Tell us what you got and why you picked it, and we'll go from there.
So I'm drinking Spanish coffee, actually. Long story short is I lived in Spain 20 years ago as a foreign exchange student, fell in love with the country, the culture, the food, the coffee. And every time I've gone back, which has been many times, I'll bring coffee back here to share with friends, family, and people that we work with. And that just turned into a passion, and then kind of into a cool way to give back. So as we've brought this stuff back here, people have wanted to start buying it, and we sell it to raise money for a scholarship that we started at my alma mater, Colorado State University, to send students over to Spain. So I'm really not a beer guy. I can't do whiskey at 12:30 Colorado time, or I'll be in trouble the rest of the day. And I'd be in trouble here if I had too much on with you guys, believe me that. So I really stick to the coffee most of the day.
When you say whiskey, is it a bourbon? Are you a bourbon guy, or
I just like the Jack Daniels, either Jack Daniels straight or Jack and Coke. But Yeah, just
Yeah.
I can't bring myself to do it at noon.
Well, we
well,
understand.
yeah.
We understand. There's a lot of people with your problem, and we're trying to get them help. So
Yeah, we're trying to spread awareness. It's okay to drink anytime after noon on Friday is fine. But all right, well, we'll cheers that up in a second. Jonathan, what do you have over there? You said you had something.
Yeah, I have something. It's kind of it's kind of just an off the cuff, last minute pickup today. Well, it was it is a terrapin from from Athens, Georgia. One of our favorite spots on the map.
Yes.
And this is a morning haze. So I am in the afternoon. I'm having a morning haze Imperial IPA.
I was going to say it's an IPA. If it's
Exactly.
got the word haze in it, it's got to be an IPA.
So I must be, I don't know. I just have this knack for just wanting to torture myself, I guess.
I know.
And I picked this one up, and it says hazy like Sunday morning. So we shall see.
I like the tagline. That's cool. I like that.
Yep.
I like the reference. So.
Yep.
All right. Well, while you're pouring that, or you got that ready, I've got. I'm going to share with everybody my fluffy nuts. That is the actual name of the beer, by the way.
Oh wow, that's a conversation starter right there. Where did you find that?
This is what we've had Saloon Door on quite a few times.
Oh yeah.
Remember they had the Flying Pig, Delicious
Right.
AF. Was one of theirs. They have some crazy beers, Saloon Door Brewing. This one is fluffy nuts, so it's peanut butter and marshmallow. So there you get the reference to the fluffy nuts.
Can you imagine that, Matt? A beer that's got peanut butter. I mean, what?
And marshmallow.
Crazy. And marshmallow.
And it's an imperial ale, so it's not like a stout. You'd expect almost that to be a stout, but it's actually an imperial ale. So that's what I got. I think it's
kind of reddish color there.
9.6 ABV, so pretty strong.
Yeah,
get this show started on a high note here.
Yeah, there you go.
So so let's cheers them up, and then we'll rate them, and then we'll dive into Matt's story.
Cheers, gentlemen.
Cheers, guys.
I don't have a glass today, so it's out of the can. I feel a little.
Man.
But
all right, Matt. We kind of know. We give a rating of 1 to 5 pints. You can use decimals. You can do pi if you want. Whatever, it doesn't matter. Points don't really matter. But tell us what you rate your coffee. I kind of have a feeling where it's going to go, but
5 being the best.
Yeah,
it is a 5. It's my passion. I love it.
All right, 5 on the show. We don't get very many of those.
Beautiful.
Those
are seldom handed out on this show.
So. Yes. All right, Jonathan, what do you got there for your hazy IPA, your favorite?
It's really not bad. It's not as it's not as pine solish citrusy as I thought. So I'm going to give it I give it a 2.8. 2.8.
Okay.
I mean,
did you say it's an imperial IPA?
Yeah.
That helps.
2.8.
Definitely helps the alcohol content and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
So, man, mine is really interesting. Like, I couldn't say that was peanut butter or marshmallow necessarily, but like it's a very interesting mix of ale. I can definitely taste the ale. It's almost got like a toffee taste to it. Like it's actually very, very good. I may have to go back and get more fluffy nuts. So, and it's just fun to say.
Where'd you pick this up at?
This was at HEB, the grocery store.
HEB. Okay. Is there an HEB up in Colorado, Matt?
No, we do not go out. No, nobody outside of Texas.
No one outside of Texas.
No, it's a Texas thing.
I don't know. We got, Bucky's migrated outside, so
I know. Who knows?
Well, they're coming up here. They're not too far away soon.
Yeah.
Oh wow.
Yeah, they're taking over the world. But all right, I give this a 4.9. I'm not going to go quite 5 because there's a little aftertaste I don't like. But other than that,
it gives you
I'm going to do 4.9.
A small volume applause.
There you go, like a golf clap. So, yes, very nice.
Oh wow, that's impressive. I'll have to look for that.
Yeah, I'll send you a text with the. Surely you could get it from. I don't know this because this is brewed here in Texas, so I don't know if they go outside or not.
Mm-hmm.
All right, Matt, you've suffered enough listening to us ramble.
Have you ever been on a podcast where they talk about where they rate drinks. I mean, this is a
No,
first. So
this is
Yeah.
first of that, first cheers and first ticker. So
And you notice
we
the
are
little
winning
glass,
today.
the digital glass clink too? Did you
yeah,
catch
that's
that?
right. That's right. Everything's
No,
artificially
I've never
made on this
received one of
show.
those.
Yes,
No.
he didn't hear it, Jonathan. Give him
Oh, you
another
didn't
clink.
hear this? Oh man, there we go.
All right, got it.
See,
Yeah,
Yes.
see, we even got an artificial clink. That's
you've heard me talk about. Oh, well, that's a different
oops.
soundtrack.
Yeah, don't want that one. It's
Those
another
are
show.
ads. See, I
Yeah.
even have ads queued up.
You got ads too?
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
man.
not on this
That's
show,
for a
though.
different show though. I gotta delete that out. But
Yeah.
no, it's everything is completely artificial. But our guests aren't. So we gotta jump into the topic here. Now, I had Matt on, like I said, my industry podcast last week. We kind of talked about, we talked more on working on your business and kind of that from an E-Myth standpoint. And obviously I want Matt to share his story. But one thing we didn't dive into is he's an incredible salesperson and a marketing. That's his thing. I mean, that's his superpower. And so I want to spend some time, obviously, having you share your origin story, your history, the history of the company. But then I want to, a little bit different than what we did last week, kind of get into what you did, how you positioned yourself and how you grew that business to
Yeah.
the level that it's at today. Because I mean, I get that from you, just from us talking, that, sales and marketing, that is your forte. So that's what I want to spend some time on today.
Love it. Yeah, happy to share the story. I'm originally from New Jersey, and my family and I we moved out here right before my 10th birthday. And my origin story as a business owner starts as asking mom and dad for $200 to buy a boombox, and they're like, "Nope, we're not going to give you money. Figure
Yeah.
it out yourself. Go find a way to make your own money." And I was making, I think, $4 a week to cut their grass, and I said, "Well, I know how to cut grass. There's the lawnmower." Asked if I could borrow it, and I pushed that sucker down the street, knocked on a little old lady's door, like 3 doors down from me, and said, "Hey, I'm Matt. Can I cut your grass for like 20 bucks? Sound good?" And she said, "Yeah, go cut my grass." And that was the beginning of business for me. And I was not the popular kid growing up. I didn't play sports. I had buck teeth and headgear like Cartman's sister. So I experienced a lot of bullying and not a lot of acceptance, right, in social circles. So when that lady says yes, that business was acceptance for me. It was a part of my identity and my confidence, and I was good at it. So I just kept going down the street, knocking on doors and mowing lawns, and I did a couple $100 plus a little more to buy the boombox. And I just saw at an early age that you can go out, set a goal, accomplish something, keep it really simple. And that was my introduction to business. And growing up, I then worked some hourly jobs coming up through middle school and high school, but I was always hustling something. So lawns, shoveling snow in the winter, candy bars out of the middle school locker. They suspended me for that. So wasn't I was competing with the school store, and that was always my thing. That was kind of my gig, and it's what inspired and motivated me. Where I really came back to business, though, was my freshman year at Colorado State University. So we live about an hour north of Denver here in Loveland, Colorado. Graduated high school in '99, and then went up to CSU immediately after. And a gentleman came into an 8 a.m. biology class my freshman year of college, and I didn't always make it to the 8 a.m.s, but I was there that day. And he stands up in front of 400 kids and says, "Hey, I made 20 grand running a business this summer. So do you want to work with somebody else's money and learn about marketing, sales?" I mean, all the things that I was excited about. He said, "Fill out a little card." I filled it out and got recruited to work with a college painting company. So they're a national company, and they showed you how to go out and generate business pretty quickly, knocking on doors, beating the street, and worked with them for all 4 years of college, and made over 6 figures over those 4 years. And I just share that to say that I spent 3 times what I made. So really no financial upbringing, no financial education in terms of just how money works, the basics of it. I had it, I'd spend it, and then apparently you could spend more than you had, and that's what everybody did. So I graduate 2003, 6 figures in debt, and I don't like painting. I still don't to this day. And I said, this painting thing was cool for college, but I'm going to go jump into a more sexy business, right? Is kind of how I described it. And a buddy of mine was doing mortgages, right, back in 2003, 4, 5, and he was making a lot of money. I was pretty motivated by money still, and I decided to jump into that business. And not too far into it, I remember one day, very very vividly. These guys are making us do 200 phone calls a day, and the things we were saying to people, the things we were putting in front of people, I started asking questions about. And he said, "Hey, do you want to ask questions or make money? And if you want to ask questions, this isn't for you." So what they were doing back then wasn't super legitimate.
Mhm.
And I went from that to a more conservative bank. And March of 2005, I'm working with a button-up shirt and a suit and a tie, walking into this bank, and it's just the most boring thing ever, the most awful thing. I'm hating life. I don't want to do this. I don't want to be there. Like I just want to go knock on some doors and sell something,
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
Yep.
so I'm plotting my escape. I'm trying to figure out how I'm going to leave this bank, but I'm making $2,800 a month. My bills $2,800 a month, and I mean, I was in that trap, the 9 to 5. And I
Mhm.
walk into the bank one day, and the new bank president, branch manager, calls me into his office, and he doesn't even let me sit down. I walk in, and he's like, "Oh, this will just take a minute. Just hang out there, go get all your shit, put it in a box, and then you're fired." And yeah, that
Left a huge impression, right?
like, nice to meet you too. Like, I hadn't even met this guy,
Right.
Chad, yet. So
Wow.
I'm standing there looking at him, go back into my office and literally put all of my professional belongings in a banker's box.
Yeah.
And I gave the two-finger salute to Chad. I, walked out the front door. And like that moment, I really remember this moment. I'm standing there on the curb right outside the banking office, and I'm super pissed off. Like, I'm pissed off.
Right.
I was rejected. I have no more money coming in. I'm recently married. We had an upside down, over leveraged condo, all this debt, and I'm supposed to be the breadwinner, right? Like Emily, my wife, she's making $9 an hour at an adult respite care facility, for 18 hours a week. That's not going to cut it. And before I step into the parking lot, I just remember ripping this tie off and just tossing it to the side. I'm like, I'm never going to wear a tie again, and
Yes.
I'm never going to work for anybody again. And I took that step into the parking lot, and
Yeah.
that was my final step into entrepreneurship. It was my first step, but I've never gone back. And from there, our painting company, we launched it with the last $100 that I had to spare.
Mhm.
And I'd say if I could have done it with 75, I would have done it with 75. That was
Sure.
the
Yeah.
minimum balance to open a bank account. And from there, I determined there was one thing that I knew I could do to consistently generate leads.
Mhm.
And I went out and I did that 20 to 30 hours a week. I knocked on doors, and
Mhm.
we knocked out about a half million in top line revenue,
Wow.
with from like mid-March to the end of the painting season, which is end of October. So I just went out there, and I was like, "Screw you, Chad. Yeah, put all my stuff in a box,"
Yeah.
and it just got to work. And then
Yeah.
that's the origin story. And from there, so many other amazing opportunities have presented themselves, and a lot of things have come together in a really cool way.
Yeah.
That's amazing. I mean, I don't, like I said, I didn't grow the business, didn't want to grow a business, didn't really know anything about it, but I started a handyman business. Similar thing. I was selling swimming pools, above ground swimming pools. And these people were just taking people to the cleaners, like, charging 20 grand for a $5,000 above ground pool. Just, I didn't know that going in, but as I started, as you start selling, you're like, oh, wait a second. Same thing. I started asking questions. They're like, yeah, that's how we do it. Like, I was
Mhm.
like, yeah, not gonna. But anyway, so I quit. Didn't have any money, and with $26, I started a handyman business. And my first gig was a painting gig.
Yep.
Made like $1,000, and I was like, well, just rinse and repeat this. And
Mhm.
I didn't do door knocking, but I stuck flyers. I'd been studying copywriting, so I stuck flyers that I had written in mailboxes. And every time I did that, I got calls. Like, it's just,
Yeah.
it's amazing. So I'm curious to see where this goes. So Jonathan kind of teased me on the story, but I'm curious, since we're talking about persuasion and sales and marketing stuff, what was your basic pitch? Like,
Yes.
what secrets or whatever did you have for pitch? Because obviously, if you generated that much, you had something going on with your pitch that was working.
Yeah, and it's really interesting you ask, because we're talking, 2005, what my pitch is, to literally an hour ago, I'm knocking on doors in the neighborhood with kind of a different pitch and a different angle. So I'll share how
Yeah.
that's how the businesses have grown and how we approach business now. But I mean, I had no option, right?
Hmm.
I needed to make $2,800 in 28 days.
Right.
So I came home. I told Emily, "Hey, I got fired. We'll talk about this later, and I've got to go make this money." And she said, "I believe in you." She's like, "You go do what you got to do, and
Huge. That's a huge
let me know
part
how it
right
goes from
there.
there." Yeah,
Yeah.
no, and that's the key. I mean, without that, I don't think. Well, I know the company would not have
Sure.
thrived,
Yeah.
survived, driven forward. And she just had this belief in me. So my
Right.
pitch was simply knock on the door. They open the door. "Hey, I'm Matt. I'm going to be painting some houses in the neighborhood this summer. Your house looks like it needs to be painted. So do all the other ones. Can I come give you an estimate?" I'm a very direct person. It was a very direct, very assumptive. I was pointing things out that I knew
Mhm.
they needed. But then I realized, for example, I was too close when they opened the door. So when I
Hmm.
started stepping back and down a
Yeah.
step, so they were above me, I was below them,
Sure.
looking up to them. There's a little bit of that kind of those micro
Oh,
adjustments.
interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
And then I
People hate to
started.
be crowded at their door. Like it feels very
Yeah.
Yep, because
threatening.
I was right there, and they're like, "Whoa, whoa, what are you doing here?"
Yeah.
Right.
And then I started adding, "Hey, my name's Matt.
Hmm.
I just got laid off from a bank, and I painted in college." So then I started interjecting, not the "woe is me," but I
Right.
wanted to let people know what was on the line. Give them an idea of what
That's
was
Wow.
going to be supported.
That's cool.
Yeah, it's interesting you say that. My first flyer that I did for the handyman business, I had a similar line. I was like, I'm a hardworking American, um, you know, kid looking to provide for my family. Don't smoke, don't drink, because I'd been in construction, so I knew the typical handyman smelled like smoke, didn't
Yep,
show up on time, so I covered those objections. But yeah, having that
yep,
little micro story right there, you know, I'm mad, I just got fired, and
Oh
you
yeah.
know, and
Because
I
I
used to
mean,
pay in college. That's I was teaching a class last week or week before last about how to do these like little micro stories like that and how
mhm.
powerful they are.
yeah.
And people think stories have to be like 5 minutes long. And just like you did, like, 6 or 7
No,
words
it's
is all you need.
And one thing that the door knocking industry, it's invasive, right? And if you think of
Mhm.
marketing in general, whatever your message is, you're literally interrupting a conversation or
yeah.
somebody's attention that they had on or with something or somebody. So I would always say, even if they said, "Screw you, get off my doorstep, I'm going to sick my dog on you." I always ended, "Hey, thanks for letting me stop by." Like they
Yeah.
didn't let me stop by. I
Great. Yeah.
stopped by. I
Gratitude.
interrupted them. So
Yeah.
just that was always kind of the nice closure to the conversation. But when I landed my first job, then it went from, "Hey, I'm Matt. I just got fired. I'm going to be painting houses in the neighborhood." It's, "I'm going to paint Phil and Tracy's house, and then Phil and
Yes.
Tracy's neighbor Bob. I'm painting for Phil and Tracy and Bob and Cindy." These are
Social proof right there. I
on
mean,
one
yeah.
cul-de-sac. And then from there, you start adding that, you get the
Yeah.
social proof and the
Yeah. Yeah.
confidence. And yeah,
I'm
and I
amazed, Matt, how many companies that are in the like door to door business, lawn care, painting, never do that. Like never talk to the neighbors. Like I can't tell you how many times a lawn care truck comes up and down the road, does
Oh,
one
I know.
lawn, and then moves on. And then
yep.
the next company, it's like you could do a whole day's worth of work in this one neighborhood if you just gobbled up the street and owned the street.
Right.
Yeah. One
It's
thing we do
crazy.
now with, because we launched into the roofing side of things, and roofing's a super interesting business with door knockers, especially after a hailstorm. But what we do now is when we have a job, we go put a little sticky note on, 2, 3 doors on either side, 5 or 6 across the street that says, "Hey, we're working in the neighborhood. If any of our trash or anything blows over into your yard, if our
Yes.
trucks are parked where they shouldn't be, the music's too loud, if we're doing anything to disturb you, just call us." And
Hmm.
Oh, that's
we put them
brilliant.
on all the houses, no soliciting, whatever. A lady calls from a no soliciting house. She has one of those signs, and she says, "Hey, I've never been." She opened her message with, "I've never been solicited this way before." So we're like, "Oh no, what's she going to say?" And then it says, "This was the kindest, most considerate thing that I've
Wow.
seen in a really long time. Thank you guys for sticking this
Sure.
on my door." So
Yeah.
yeah,
That's
When you,
brilliant. It's so simple. Just
oh,
common
yeah,
courtesy, and
absolutely.
I bet you get, do you know what percentage of those people convert to business without you even
of
really
those
like just,
stickies,
yeah.
I'd say we get, if we put 8 stickies on a job, 3 jobs, you get 25 of those things out. We'll get 2 or 3 calls.
Yeah.
whether they're, hey, just thanks for stopping by, or we need something down
Yeah.
the road. I mean, they definitely convert. Yeah.
Yeah.
Are
I
those
mean, that's
pre-printed? Are those already printed up that you, or they just kind of writing out on a sticky sheet and putting up?
No, it's a pre-printed little sticky. So they're like a
Okay.
little sticky notepad, and then it just has a place where our project manager, sales rep, whoever it
That's
is, they just write
great.
their name and their cell phone number on it. Yeah.
I love that.
And we didn't
yeah.
come up with that. We ripped that off. It's R&D, right? Rip off and duplicate. It was
Yeah.
I think another roofer left one on my door 5-6 years ago.
Yeah. We used to call that the cloverleafing method, like,
Sure.
because the stem is the house you're working on, and then you cloverleaf around
Around.
see all
Yeah.
the other ones.
Yeah,
That's brilliant.
Yeah.
it
You know,
works.
I love the, you know, the fact that you were so kind of open with people, like, hey, I just got laid off. And
hmm
the reason I think about that, you know, Sean and I were talking last week on our podcast, you know, there was a book we were mentioning called The Science of Storytelling.
Mhm.
And in the book, it talks about, you know, what goes into a great story, like what most people find attractive to a really good story. And it's that usually, you know, one of the common themes is it's kind of a, you know, you're up against the odds, you know,
Mhm.
kind of one of those underdog stories.
Yeah.
And people always root for those underdogs, man.
hmm
They are always rooting for underdogs. So I think that was good on your part. I mean, and you were completely being honest, but people, you know, people really feel for those who are,
Yeah.
you know, transitioning, you know, you
Mhm.
got laid off, but you're like, you know what, I'm going to prove this. I'm going to prove them wrong. I'm going to go out there and make this happen.
Yeah.
And
And it's
people
funny
get
because,
behind those
yeah.
people, you know.
Well, and we're sitting here 18 years later looking back on this, and I don't think I thought about it that deeply creatively at all. I was really
You were
upset.
just
I
like,
had a lot
I
I
got to
had a
do
lot to
something.
prove. No, I had a lot to prove, and, I
Yeah.
think
Yeah.
just with the background I came from too,
Yeah.
like, I'm gonna go be a millionaire as fast as
Right.
possible. We're gonna build a
Right.
billion-dollar business, and that was the drive. So, yeah, I don't think I was thinking about the deep, um, rooting of an origin story. I was just like,
Right.
okay, let's add that I got fired and test this on the
Yeah.
next 20. And
It's a,
then,
yeah.
8 a.m. Saturday morning, 8 a.m. estimates. I'd always bring donuts, and I'd always
Oh
get
man,
those.
that's
And
great.
that was, just stuff like that. It was fun. It was it's like a science experiment. Just
Mhm.
every time you make a little tweak and adjustment, control everything
Mhm.
else, and
I'm telling
then
you, man, you bring you know, you bring a pack of donuts with you to my door, and I'm not saying no to that. I
right,
don't know.
man.
I mean, I
Yeah.
love donuts.
Yeah,
I don't
for sure. So you said, Matt, that the pitch has changed a little bit because consumer. You didn't say exactly why, but tell us like the difference in what you're having your guys do now, or
yeah.
that's different.
So, yeah, so we still knock doors, and we
Mhm.
still do the, "Hey, we're working in the neighborhood," or,
Mhm.
I'm Matt, Kevin, Jim. Now we have a team of guys and gals that are out there. So we have that kind of the original pitch, but we had a really big, realization in the roofing business. So, we've been running insurance claims since, like, 2008. There's a big tornado here in Windsor, and, we were learning the insurance claim process on the painting side, and then we're sending our roofing to roofers.
Right.
And anytime there was a hailstorm, literally the hail stops at 8 p.m. They're there at 8:30 p.m. knocking on doors early the next
Mm.
morning. I mean, it
Yeah.
is like vultures coming out to
Sure.
just scrape every piece of meat off of and it's crazy out there. So we launched our roofing division 3 years ago. It was about 6 months after a really big hailstorm. So we did not until about 2 weeks ago ever have the pleasure, maybe we'll call it that, of going out there into this space after a hailstorm. So town of Wellington gets hit with hail. We go out the next day. There's 20 roofers out there. They're knocking each other's ladders off of houses. I mean, it's crazy. And I'm knocking on doors, right? Hey, I'm Matt.
Mm.
We're Ebony Painting. We've been around for years. It's our roofing division, and people were just like, "Dude, get off my doorstep.
Sure.
I'm going to kill you. You're the 30th person here." They were not having it. So it's really discouraging. So we go back to the office, and I think back to Mike McCallowick's book. I think you guys are going to have him on the
Yeah.
show.
Yeah. Yeah. Looking
Get
forward to
different.
that.
Yeah, he says, what is the industry doing? Everybody's knocking on doors and pressuring people and harassing people.
Mhm.
Let's do something different. And I said, hey, let's go to the coffee shop across the street and buy coffee for all the neighbors for like the next 8 weeks. And we're going to start on Friday. So we went to a Ziggy's coffee shop, 8 to 10 a.m. on Friday. We set up there and we just gave them our credit card, opened up the tab, and then went and knocked on doors. And my pitch went from, hey, I'm another roofer trying to get on your roof and take your insurance claim and blah, blah, upgrade your shingles, right? The same crap, to, hey, I'm Matt. I'm another roofer, not here to talk about your roof, though. And they go, what? So I'm a roofer, but I'm not here to talk about your roof. So they all do this.
Yeah.
They lean back going, what is going on? Just
Yeah.
wanted to let you know, we're buying coffee for all the neighbors for the next 2 hours, and we'll be here for the next 2 months doing that on Fridays. Come on down. And
Wow.
they're waiting for something else. Like, we're waiting to be sold, right? You hear a good hook today,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You're waiting for the punchline. You're waiting for the solution
Sure.
and call to action. Hey, we just want to do something nice and different for the community. And
Mhm.
then here's where the numbers come in. They say to me, well, can you get on my roof and look at it? Oh, you don't have a roofer yet? I figured you did, because 30 of them knocked on your door. And they're
Right.
like, no, we don't want to talk to those guys. That's crazy. So, we let all the roofers fight for the initial customer that doesn't really understand what's going on when a roofer knocks on their door. They can
Right.
all fight for that. And we're moving into that sweet spot right here. And I mean, we're sitting with
Great
an
lesson.
open pipe of about $500,000 of work right now from 3 weeks of buying coffee for people.
That's so great.
Yeah.
It goes
Yeah.
again. I remember the famous quote: people love to buy, but they hate to be sold to.
Mhm.
People hate to be sold to. And so it's a great takeaway, just that story alone.
Yeah.
Quit selling to people,
Yeah. Yeah. Give them something. And yeah,
Mhm.
that's
Some
the whole
value.
reciprocity, right? Then people, you do a favor for them, then they want to give back. They feel obligated to give back in a
Right.
way. Yeah. Good stuff there. All right. Where do we go next, Jonathan? You're driving.
No, I mean, it's amazing how, you've created, I think, one of the things we talked about last week is just kind of, not just from a door-to-door sales point, talking to people directly, but just from a marketing standpoint. I love the story, and you can even share this if you want, but Matt, when he kind of made the decision to, on his painting business, to kind of work, outside of the business, step away. He's all about creating systems within that, putting the right people in place. But just announcing that, putting out a press release, announcing it on social media that I got let go by my company,
Oh, yeah.
created a
Oh,
little
yeah.
bit of like curiosity, people like want to know what's going on there. I mean, share that story, because I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, and thinking back to what you guys opened with is, me or any business owner where your gifting is sales and marketing, right? Like, your
Yeah.
gifting is what's going to take that part of the business to a certain point. But then you hit a ceiling. There's only so much you can do. And I started realizing 3, 4, 5 years into the business, as I'm bringing in other people to train them, that I wasn't leading very well. I was just like, hey, watch me go sell and market, and I hope you can keep up with me, kind of a
Right.
thing. So as I'm learning how to develop leaders and develop people and train people, sales and marketing wise, I'm like, listen, my company is only going to grow and scale to the degree that I do. I'm not great at leadership, and I literally need to get out of everybody's way. I had built the company up, I'd say by 2011, 12, to like a really solid team of people, but I'd hire them, give them a role, right? Give them the rope to go out and
To
have
hang
some
themselves.
space to do it. And then I hang them with the rope, pull it back, because I'm a control freak. So I got checked into the boards pretty hard by a mentor. He said, Matt, you're so good at what you do. You're not giving people the space
Yeah.
to go be great at what they're great at, and let them
Sure.
fail and be okay with it. He's like, you need to get the hell out. Like, you need to fire yourself, and you need to make it so clear, and draw that line to when and where you do that. And that was the beginning of really journeying into letting other people run the company and grow the company. Because if not, I'm just self-employed,
Yeah. Yeah, exactly.
Yep.
It's like you're basically, it's like the guy that buys a Subway franchise and makes sandwiches. It's like,
Yes.
that's, you don't own a business. You basically own a job. And
Yeah.
so I love that story, but you got a little, PR out of that. And I think that's
We
cool
did.
how you kind of use
Yep.
that when you decided to step away to, to really, get in the same process, announce to everybody. And it's kind of that commitment and consistency. You basically, by doing something like that, it kind of influences even yourself to like follow through with you with what you've committed to. I'm stepping away. So I'm
Yeah.
announcing it, putting it out there for everyone to see. But you also kind of turned it around. I mean, you also got a little play from that. You were able to kind of cachet that into a little PR on the back end and get some recognition. So,
Oh, when I made that post, I mean, people, they're like, "What's happening? Are you sick? Are you moving to Spain?" And we
yeah.
actually, 2 years after that, we spent the summer in Spain. That was like
Mhm.
the ultimate test where we moved away for 8 weeks
Mhm.
and turned everything off. But yeah, no,
Sure.
it caught people's attention. It got them talking, and still have people to this day, they're like, "Didn't you sell that 6, 7, 8 years ago?" I'm like, "No, no, I'm still here." So
So I'm curious, like, was there a plateau when you handed over? Did the growth take off because people were able to do their thing? Like, kind of what happened to the business once you stepped away? I think that's
it's interesting,
Mhm.
and this is where it's really hard, I think, for, the type A control freak, high performing, producing sales and marketing guys is, it was that, "All right, you guys are great. I'm gonna send you off, and I'm like the grandpa, and you're the grandchildren, and I'm just gonna
Right.
mentor you from afar." And then sales go, and I realized how much I carried
Mhm.
everything, like how much I
Mhm.
was but my sales guys were selling, X amount per year, and it's like, no, I was swooping in on these deals and making sure they were getting closed, right?
Mhm.
I wasn't letting my salespeople sell. So there's actually a dip, and then my initial reaction, I think a lot of business owners would be, is, man, I've got to come back in and save the day,
Mhm.
right? Superhero syndrome. We got to fly
Yeah.
in and
Yep. Yep.
save everybody and wreck everything else in its path.
Mhm.
So what happened though over the years is I stepped back. You let them fail, you train them. Started sending my team to sales courses and sales trainings, and it's funny now. I'm locked out of my own CRM. So like we're running a lot of roof stuff right now, and I love the creative idea behind this big marketing campaign, but I can't even get into the CRM to work
Right.
anything up. And
Right.
the guys sell better than me. I mean, we're at a point now to where if
Sure.
I am more confident in my team's ability to sell than mine. And being, self-proclaimed pretty darn good salesperson, that's
Yeah.
that's a big thing to say.
How do you
Yeah.
train? I know you're away from it now, but how does your, sales and marketing team, how do they train your people? Do you have, obviously you said, you mentioned CRM, which is
Mhm.
obviously a great tool for tracking, but I mean, you mentioned, obviously it's so important for any business to implement systems within
Yeah,
their company.
yeah.
Are some of those systems, do you have scripts? I mean, you talked about the kind of how you frame it when you go door to door.
Mhm,
Do you guys use scripts, or do you train your salespeople, your people that are out there in the, with the public to use,
mhm.
what to say, when to say it, what to bring to the table?
We do, so I'd say yes and no. So I'd like to think of it more as a framework, or call
Okay.
it, 15 things that have to happen to drive you down the football field of sales. But we don't have um, ABC closing script where everybody says
Sure.
the same exact thing. But we say, listen, you've got to call your appointment before you show up to it to confirm it. If you're running a
Right.
minute late, let them know you're running 5 minutes late, and then show up early, but you're still late.
Right.
Things
Right.
like that. So all of these different, but do it in your own way. Kevin's going to do it different than Jim, who's going to do it different than Steven.
Mhm.
So we want everybody to have their own uniqueness, let their personality, their passions, who they are as people, play into this framework. But if I try to get Kevin to recite this script where he's just like, "Dude, this is brutal. I don't ever say this. I don't talk like this. This isn't me."
Yes.
It's not going to work. And being out in the roofing, the roofing battle the couple of weeks ago after that hailstorm, you're listening to all the same scripts all the time. So, I'm more of a, ask for the business, follow the steps, follow the process, but do it in your own unique way.
Sure.
And
Al,
it works for them. Yeah. And everybody has their own success stories with their own approaches.
Mhm.
I love that about the calling if you're going to be late. My dad taught me that when we were building sunrooms and stuff, and that was one of his. He would do it almost every time. Like he'd call 15 minutes before and say, "Hey, I'm running a little bit late, coming from another appointment," whether he was or not, to kind of let people
Yeah.
know he's busy.
Yep.
Um,
There's that.
yeah, and then he'd get there like right on time.
Mhm.
even though he said he was going to be late. And people were like, "Oh, wow, thank you for calling. Nobody ever calls when they're going to be late." Like,
Yeah,
it's amazing, those little things, especially in the construction industry.
sure.
Yeah.
It's such a problem that if you just show up on time, you'll get half the business just for showing up, if not more.
Yeah.
We joke, but it's true. It's like it's not a stereotype if it's true. But I tell these guys, I go, if you show up on time and do what you say you're going to do, and don't be drunk
Yeah.
and look presentable
It's
and ask for
very
the
simple.
business.
Don't show up
Do
liquored
those
up.
do those four, but and they laugh. They go, really? This is the business we're getting into? I say, yeah. Ask the people, the homeowners, to get 3-4 quotes. How many people
Mhm.
were on time, did what they said, followed up, and weren't looking like they're under the influence? Like, don't scare the wife. Don't have the wife be the first thing she does is go and hide her kids and hide her purse.
Yeah.
And it's true.
Yeah,
We are business owners that happen to do so painting.
sure.
And that is very different from, I'm a fourth generation painter. It's like, yeah, you should clean your truck.
Mhm.
Should
Exactly.
clean
Right.
yourself up.
Yeah.
Don't go knock everybody. Present why you're great. One thing that we were talking about though, and I wanted to make the point for your listeners is, all of these little micro things that I ask my team to do. The common theme is that on step one, you're going to promise something to somebody that takes them to step two. Then you're going to execute on that promise, reminding them that you just did what you promised. So
Mhm.
you present your estimate, and they're not
Yeah.
ready to schedule right away. Well, hey, when
Mhm.
can I call you back? Right? That's the callback that we talk about. When can I call you back? Thursday
Right.
at 3? Okay, I promise I'll call you back Thursday at 3. Put it in
Sure.
your calendar. Thursday
Right.
at 3. Hey, Mrs. Jones, it's Matt. I promised I'd call you back. So you're making a promise.
You're
Yeah.
reminding them,
Yep.
that you just kept your promise. Yeah, that's
And
brilliant. That's
and there
great.
and that's, implanting both consciously
Yeah.
and subconsciously that you're
Mhm.
able to be trusted and you do what you say. And even outside of the trades, I'm in real estate as well. I
Mhm.
have a real estate license. We have a jujitsu school here. We do a number of different things in different industries, and
Yeah.
it's not much different in some of like a professional real estate. You guys are making 10, 20, 30, $50,000 on a house and you can't show up on time or call somebody back.
Right.
Yeah.
That
Yeah.
happens there too.
Yep.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. Well, can we shift gears a little bit? Can we talk about your upcoming book?
Yeah.
Love to. Yeah.
Cool. So let me just throw it up on the screen here real quick. When's it coming out, first of all?
I'm going to be wrapped up with it end of this year, but I think we're going to launch in January. We just want to wait till after the holidays and launch it right
Mhm.
at the beginning of the year.
Mhm.
Okay. So cool. The book title, tell everybody, not everybody watches on video. So tell everybody
Yeah.
what the title of the book is, and then I'd love to hear that story as well.
Oh,
But that won't
absolutely.
give too much away.
The title of the book is Painted Baby, and the subtitle is Connect with Clients Through Brave and Vulnerable Storytelling.
And I
And there's
assume there's a story behind the title.
absolutely is. And so the premise of the book is this, right? We're talking about, our pitch and our promise and calls to action and
Yeah.
everything. But, we live in a society where we are consistently conditioned to show up as perfect, A
Mhm.
plus, 5
Mhm.
star, right? You think about your pitch, your letter, whatever it is that you wrote.
Right.
You're in the construction business. Here's everything that the competition does that sucks and
Yeah.
frustrates. Here's why I'm amazing. Here's why I'm awesome. And we create these shiny marketing brochures. Now, we didn't have social media 20 years ago when I started
Right.
this,
Yeah.
but scroll through social media. Everybody's perfect, perfect life, perfect wife, perfect business, perfect vacation. And none of it's true. Like none
Yeah.
of it's true,
Right.
but we set this story up like it is. So the actual Painted Baby story starts with another story. It's 2011, and I'm actually sitting across the table in the office of a really now good friend of mine who was a repeat client of ours, and we did multiple $3,000 to $4,000 paint jobs for him. His name's
Mhm.
Bill, very self-made guy, lives in a beautiful big mansion on the golf course. And I'm sitting across from him getting ready to close the biggest deal of our painting company's life. It's a 60,000, possibly $70,000 job, depending on what options he goes with. So I'm, buttoned up. I've got my marketing brochure, my proposal. I walk in there, sit down,
Mhm.
I've got my closing pen, like every school sales, and sit down with them, present everything, and push it across the table. And I give him the either or. Hey, would you like to do the one coat or the two coats? And he pushes it back and rejects it. And
Oh,
he's a straight shooter. Like, he always says yes. He always makes a decision, and he's like, "Not ready."
mm,
So I'm sitting here, okay, how can I close him? How can I circle back around, handle the objection? So we
sure.
back and forth this a couple of times, and I'm like, "Bill, I don't know what to tell you. Let me just grab this shiny marketing brochure, right? Here's my, $3.25 A plus 5-star Better Business Bureau." And he takes this thing and he like throws it across the room, and he said, "Your shiny marketing book is crap. I want to know about a time you screwed up and what you did about it. Because A, you've
Mm.
never screwed anything up. You've never had anything on the line for me
Right.
or with me. And this house is my other $1 million baby." He's like, "The one you're sitting in, it's my $3 million baby, right? This is my $2 million baby.
Sure.
And you're about to go up here and do a really big job." And I'm short circuited. I'm sitting here. I don't know what to do, what to say to him. And I'm like, "You want to know about something we did wrong?" He goes, "Yeah. I've never heard that from you." So
Yeah.
I told him about the time we painted the wrong color on a house. Not a big deal. Then we actually, I told him about the time we painted the wrong house. So we had the right color. We actually went to the wrong house.
Oh,
When I did that, though, he engaged. He leaned forward. He wanted to hear, okay, something's on the line. There was some drama. There was something at risk. So I tell him that story. He's still not signing the contract, and he knew I had a better story. And I said, "Bill, I don't know what else to tell you, but if you really want to hear about the biggest, most massive screw up, we painted a baby once. Like, we literally almost killed a customer's baby. Paint sprayer exploded. Do you want to hear about that?" He goes, "Hell yeah, I want to hear about that." And he leans in. Like, the whole time he was disengaged. His arms were folded.
yeah.
He's rejecting. He's pushing things away.
Yeah.
So I go to tell him the story of, shortly after that Windsor tornado, we had 5, 6 jobs lined up on a street. Had a crew. These guys, they were brothers. Their names were Bloss and Raoul, and they'd go paint a house in about 3 days. So we're working our
Mhm.
way down the street. We get to this job with Mrs. Angelo, and on the last day, they're getting ready to spray paint the doors. So the garage doors, the service doors, big metal doors, with black gloss paint. And we use these high pressure piston driven, paint sprayers. So it
Mhm.
pressurizes this paint 2000 PSI through a hose. And, Raul's literally standing there at the door, right as customer standing there with her baby, like watching the job, admiring the job.
Oh,
So I'm not on the job site. I'm at the bank 20 minutes away, and I get a phone call from him. And Raul's kind of a jokester. So once a week, he'd call up, and these guys, they're from Mexico, and English is their second language. Spanish is my second language. So we're Spanglishing and
yeah.
having fun. He calls once a week, "Mateo, Mateo, I spilled a paint on the deck. Ha ha ha! So funny. Customer's so pissed off." And he'd razz me like once a week.
Sure.
I get this phone call, and I notice as he's calling that he had called 8 times before that, and I missed his call.
Oh.
I
Ugh.
pick up, and he is hysterical. "Mateo, Mateo, you gotta come quick." And I hear this baby crying and this woman screaming in the background,
Yeah.
and he can't get a sentence together. "Mateo, the paint and the boom and the baby, I don't know. Come quick." I go, "I paint the baby. Mateo, Mateo, I paint the baby." And, I go, "You what?" He just says, "Mateo, come quick," hangs up the phone, and I'm 20 minutes away. Zip over to the house. I pull up. His brother's at the truck cleaning up drop sheets and just black paint everywhere, black paint trail up the driveway. So I follow it, come around the corner, and the homeowner and the baby are gone. Raul's just standing there, just not knowing what to do. And there's just paint, 40-foot radius from where he was working, just everywhere. And lady was standing there with a baby, and he goes to pull the trigger, the gun jammed, and we painted a baby. So
Oh.
that's a bad
Did it
day.
blow? It jammed and blew up or
Yeah, so
ex
these spray tips, not to get too technical, but the little key that goes into the gun, it makes the spray pattern. It was
okay.
just
Yeah.
off kilter, and something else was jammed. I don't know if it was a filter. I don't know, but I mean, it had never happened. It was a once in. We painted
Yeah.
tens of thousands of homes, and right when he pulled it, homeowner and little 9-month-old baby is there. So I'm
Yeah.
sitting here with Bill telling him this story, and he's just, just like you guys, he's laughing, he's crying. He's like, "Well, what did you do about it? Was the baby okay?" And
Mhm.
I had shared with him at that point, not realizing it, like this, I could say I was honest, or that I had
Sure.
integrity, or that I would take care of a problem. But how easy is it to do that when you don't have a problem to take care of? So
Right.
if you see something on the line, and I had to figure this out. And the end of the story is like, baby's okay. We come in, we check on the customer, we check on the baby. They were super freaked out, but I mean, we ruined thousands of dollars worth of parts of their home, their clothes. So I mean, we had to replace flagstone and landscaping, clothes, sent them out to a nice dinner. But the point was, I'm sitting there with a client who had trusted me at a small level. Now he needs to trust me at a bigger level. And I had never been real, been vulnerable, and been brave enough to share anything other than A+ 5-star. I'm
Sure.
awesome. And he forced me to do it. And then when the story and the dust settles, he grabs the contract, signs it. And I'm like, what? Like, what just happened? I have no idea what just happened. And all he said was, if that's the worst that's ever been put in front of you, and that's how you handled it, you're the kind of guy I want to do business with, because if
Sure.
anything goes down at my job, I know you'll take care of it. So from there, I went on this journey for the next 12 to 18 months of trying to unpack this and figure this out and experiment with different ways to approach telling my story and interjecting imperfection in different ways, and seeing how people would respond to it.
Yeah.
That's
I love
fascinating.
that.
Yeah, and I'm curious, like, what have you kind of come down to? Because obviously you don't want to just tell bad story after bad story. That's not exactly
No,
inspiring either. Like
no.
it's got to be just like a dash of baking soda or something to.
Sure.
Yes,
It
it
can't be the
absolutely
main
is.
flavor.
Yep, I came back to the office and I let everybody know. I said, "Hey, we closed the big mountain job." And they, well, what did you use to close them? I said, "I told them about the painted baby. They couldn't believe it." And I said, "I'm going to go out and try this." So I just the short thinking was like, "Hey, share crazy story, get more job." Right? That was my
Right.
thought. So I go out on my next 10 proposals, and I didn't share marketing brochures or anything. I just, "Hey, want to hear about painted baby?" They said, "Yeah, we do." Cool. We're not going to hire you. So what I discovered in this process is you still come in with the shiny marketing brochure, right? It's
Yes.
discovery,
Yeah.
rapport. What are the needs they know they have, the needs they don't realize that they have, the pains, right? And the way you can solve them, and you show the features and the benefits, right? It's the whole sales 101. But right before you get to that place where you're going to ask them for the business, the differentiator for us, it came down to, hey, like, we've been around. I've shared with you all of my great, and I'd tell them this shiny marketing brochure, and then I would take it. I go, but hold on, let me just tell you why this thing is kind of crap for a minute. Can I
Right.
tell you about a time that our company massively screwed up and
Mhm.
painted a baby, and what we did about it? And every single time they said, absolutely, share the story. And then I'd close with, hey, we share that story because as great as things can go and will go, 95% of the time they'll go great. You won't have stuff like this. I want you to know that if we break your flower pot over here, or we something bad goes on, like, this is how we'll handle it. And that's what makes us different from other companies. And then I'd always challenge them, hey, were other companies sharing their worst moments, or trying to
Yeah. Yeah. I mean,
tell
that's
you how bad we were,
right.
right?
Yeah.
Because
Throwing
I
us in the
mean,
bus.
now
Yeah.
you've kind of put them on the, in the light that they're hiding something. You've been
Mhm.
open and honest, and that
Yeah.
there must be hiding something they don't want you to know. And you've come across as being a little vulnerable along the way, but also being just open and honest. Hey, we're not perfect, but
I can't tell you, Matt, how many times in my sales career, different industries, that I've done the same thing you did, where it's like I got this objection and I overcame the objection. So then I tried to use that with everybody
Mhm.
Mhm.
when it was never an issue before. Like,
Yeah,
Yeah.
you
Yeah.
assume, oh, well, that must be everybody's objection. That's why I haven't been closing 100%.
sure.
Yeah.
And then you overdo it. So yeah, it's
Yeah,
cool
then
that
you
you
start
found.
creating objections. He goes, "Well, I was never concerned about that
Yeah,
until you told me."
exactly.
You're like,
Exactly.
no." So on paper though, what Painted Baby did is it raised our net closing rate by about 10 to 12%.
Mhm.
And it just made business easier. And what we ended up doing is, after I experimented with about 100 sales calls, and really honed it on the numbers, that the picture on the cover of that book, that's my daughter. We brought my daughter into the office. She's 2 years old, and threw
Cool.
paint all over her. And then we got her picture and we put it on bus stops, bus benches, direct mail. So all of our methods and medias that we were marketing with at the time, again, right? $200 coupon, warranty. It's the same stuff. We're just like,
Mhm.
Yeah,
Painted Baby. Want to hear the
that's
story?
great. That's
And
great.
I mean, plastered it all over town. And that was actually one of our biggest marketing campaigns.
Sure.
Still to this day, people talk about it.
That's awesome.
That was the cheapest mistake you ever made in the business, I guess.
It was, and I tell business owners, you've got a dirty little secret, and so do I. We're going to talk about it in this book, and
Sure.
the thesis is right. Like by being vulnerable and owning and admitting our shortcomings and our mistakes, our imperfections, that actually builds deeper levels of connection and trust
Mhm.
with homeowners. So not only did I test it, but I went out and interviewed other business owners and listened and heard their painted baby stories and
Right.
what they did about it, and how it made their business better. So this book is just it's a collection of my stories, other stories, and really tangible, applicable frameworks that businesses can plug into their business today.
Sure.
It's totally different. It's some people will read it and be a little nervous to do it, but that's where the magic's always been for me. Try something crazy and see what happens.
Absolutely. Yeah. I mean, we have some similar idea in copywriting called the Achilles heel, where you admit a flaw like that in somewhere in the copy, for that very, just to overcome that perfect, like, because everybody gets a little suspicious when it's too perfect.
Right.
Yes.
So throw in that little bit of vulnerability in definitely works. I mean, hey, it made Brene Brown famous, right? When she had a nervous breakdown on the TED Talk stage, basically, and
Oh yeah.
let everybody know about it. Like that was her whole launching pad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So yeah, it's very cool.
I
Man,
appreciate
fascinating
it,
stuff.
Thanks for letting me share that.
Yeah, no, that's a fun story. I mean,
It is.
I can imagine like your actual, heart rate and everything else turning the corner and seeing the black paint up the driveway and like, what happened here? Like,
Yeah, I mean, 'cause we literally like once a week the paint store ships out the wrong color, and we're just used to that. We painted the wrong house once though. I gave the crew the address with drive at the end instead of court, and there was the same address. They went up to this house. That was crazy pulling up to that. But yeah, painted baby. I mean, I've pulled up on a lot of things in the construction remodel trades industry over the past 20 years, and that was by far one of the craziest.
So did you actually see the baby when painted, or were they like
they were
did they go to
gone.
the hospital or
No,
something?
they I mean, that paint hit and freak out happens. And again, I was 25 minutes away. So by the time I got there, the painters were dealing with the crime scene of paint everywhere. But mom and baby were in the house getting cleaned up.
Okay.
Wow.
Yeah. Man, was that like an oil-based paint or water-based? I'm curious.
No, it was just water. It was water-based.
That's good. At least it wasn't like an oil paint that they
No,
still be trying to get off.
Oh, that it would still be that. Yeah, it was everywhere though. It went far.
That's amazing.
That's a great example. But don't be afraid to share your mistakes.
So Matt, if you could, so you do a lot of in-person stuff, like, and a lot of our listeners do online, as well. What have you learned that you think is kind of a universal principle, other than this story? But like, what's one of the biggest things you've learned over your career so far in all of the different businesses? If you could give the audience like one takeaway, what would it be? I know that's a big question, but
Are you thinking more so just being in the online space, or just in general? Just
something maybe that you do offline that might translate to online that people haven't thought about.
So
if not, it's just a general something.
Absolutely. As we've talked about, like all of the different approaches, right, that I've used: painting, roofing, real estate. You look at like online web copy. Like I love ClickFunnels. I think it's a great company. I land on one of these ads, there's a hook, grabs my attention. I click on it, and then it's taking me through my pain. I just have so much pain, and I'm lacking something in my life or my business, and they're just drawing it out, right? They're flowing me through it. And I think, in any business, people see that enough, and whether they know it or not, they may not be in professional copywriting and creative sales and marketing, but just people are just they're waiting for the pitch. They're waiting to be sold. They're waiting to be closed on the way that every other roofer, realtor, painter, gym owner, whatever is doing. So just finding a way to hit pause on that and do it differently. And maybe everybody in the industry will say I'm crazy, but I don't go close them. I don't do what everybody else is doing. So really, whatever your industry is doing, do something different and find something that works for you, that you can really own, and give that a try, and go rep it 100, 200, 300 times and track the results on it. But yeah, I think even at a subconscious level, it's too good to be true, right? Look at this beautiful, amazing copy. There's got to be a catch though. So owning the imperfections, you put your guard down as a business owner, you show that you're human. I think, my experience has been that people respond a lot better at a higher rate
Yeah.
and trust you and accept you more as a business. Like, you're still in business to do business. You need to close the deal. You need the call to action. But I just feel like we're really missing that. You know, it's too good to be true. Yeah, it is too good to be true. So share where it's too good to be true and where
Sure.
you screw things
Sure.
up. And I think that puts people at ease.
Yeah.
Another tip would be in any business, online, offline, whatever it is I think we under project, right? We say we over project what we can do in a year, but under project what we can do in 10 years.
Yeah.
Think about the 10-year long game. We're in a world where everything is short, quick fix. Amazon will drone it to your door in 2 hours pretty soon.
Sure.
Yeah.
Like, that's not how business works. Some of my biggest successes, Painted Baby, I started writing it in 2015. It's coming out in 2023.
Mhm.
Got to think long game. You've got to be in this for the long haul.
Yeah.
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 Yeah. And I was talking to somebody yesterday about this, and like, he's a younger guy. He's been very successful so far. And I was like, yeah, it's this weird paradox that, like, we're all living longer. We've got far more time than we think we do if we're taking care of ourselves and things like that. But at the same time, everything around us is so hustle and
Mhm.
do it quick and all this stuff. So yeah, I think you have to have that balance of, like,
Yeah.
I'm 50. I honestly think with current technology and everything else and just health, I think I can live to 120, like,
Yeah.
Mhm.
healthily.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I've got an entire lifetime plus some left.
Mhm.
So I don't have to rush, but at the same time, you got to not be complacent. Like, that back and forth is interesting to deal with, for sure.
Yeah.
I think a lot about, like, you have that one life to live, right? So these business owners, we've got one life to live. I've got to hustle and drive and create this
Yeah.
wealth and this legacy for my grandkids and their grandkids. It's like, yeah, you have one life to live, but don't forget to enjoy the one life you have to enjoy. So
Right.
Exactly.
for
Yeah.
me, it is hard to step away. I do not celebrate the successes as well as I can. It's hard for me to step out and reflect. Like, we'll hit a big accomplishment and then it's right on to the next thing.
Yeah.
Somebody said to me a long time ago, "Hey, did you just celebrate what you did? Because, like, no one will ever do that in their lifetime, and you're just on to
Right.
the next thing that maybe no
Yes.
one's going
Yeah.
to do in your lifetime. Slow down and chill out and enjoy it,
Yeah.
and remember why. Remember why you're doing this and who you're doing this for. And then my only last tip, and this crosses into personal, but, like, business is no different than life, right? Like, you're a person with a story, and you've been through experiences, and you carry things from those stories that shape you, define you. They give you your beliefs and who you are and what you bring to the table. And to the degree that you can explore that and understand, where you've had hurts and pains and traumas, and you can get through and over those things and show how you've accomplished greatness in your life and your story, that ultimately translates to business. And the more you can help other people do that, to
Sure.
whatever degree they're willing to, that our team is built a lot around that. It's a lot of people with a lot of stories and
Mhm.
a lot of power within those stories too.
Yeah, it's great what you said about celebrate. I don't know if you've read yet The Gap and the Gain.
No. Mm-mm.
Yeah, I think you'd enjoy that based on that comment. That's what it talks about, is how entrepreneurs don't look at the gain and they only look at the gap. Like, they
Yes.
look at the
Mhm.
gap of where they want to go and not the gain of where they just came from.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that it's much more fulfilling if you will look at the gain. You still got to have the gap goal, but
Sure.
Yep.
what inspires and really drives satisfaction is looking back and saying, "Oh, I'd have come a long way." So
Mhm.
it's a great book.
Yeah.
Gonna read
It's
that. Yeah.
it's co-written with Dan Sullivan, and I can't remember the Benjamin Hardy.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Awesome.
Yeah, so those two guys put it together. Great book.
Love it.
All right, well, Matt, how can people find out more about you, or where do you want them to follow you? I've been watching your coffee on Instagram.
Yes.
That's pretty
So,
cool.
yeah, everything, the hub for everything, it's mattshoup.com. I've
Mhm.
got top right corner, that free tools button. I am consistently adding tools, free tools for leadership, business growth,
Yeah.
for small businesses. There's always more things in there. So you can go check that out. All my social media is on there, the coffee, the fun stuff on Instagram, and it's all right there.
Cool. I'm going to sign up for some free tools myself. And
Do it.
yeah, there's your Instagram with the. I like your
Yeah.
you've been doing that. I think 100 episodes now, right? Or tomorrow will be 100 episodes.
Tomorrow is
Or
my 41st birthday, and I'm going to be doing my 100th Morning Coffee with Matt episode.
Nice.
yes, very nice, very nice. That's a cool little thing. I may have to steal that idea for myself.
Take it. No, take it all. Yeah, no
Yeah.
secrets.
Yeah. So yeah, go to Matt Shoup, MattShoup.com, and get his free tools, and start watching him on Instagram with the
Mm-hmm.
I can't find the X on this.
Go
Oh,
to the
no
no
thanks.
thanks.
Yeah.
No thanks. Yeah.
I was looking for the
There
little
you
X in the upper
Oh.
corner.
Yeah, and let's stay in touch, Matt, because we'll have you back on once the once the new book is ready to go. It's
Yeah,
it's
would love
launched.
to. Yeah, I'll let you know as we're getting close to launch time, and
Yeah,
we'll come back on. Yeah.
All right.
sounds
Well,
great.
Jonathan, I'll let you close us out.
Yeah, Matt Hill, we'll send you to the green room. Would love to. We're going to close things out, and then we'll talk to you a little bit on the back end. So if you want to hang tight for maybe a couple of minutes in the green room,
Sure.
while we wrap things up, we'll talk to you here in a few. So that is Matt Shoup. You can find him again at mattshoup.com. We'll post a link, and there's a ton of stuff on there. There's a lot of good, like you mentioned, free tools, some articles, but he said he got such a great story. And Sean, it's really cool. Kind of reminds me, I was going to mention, Dan Kennedy going through the, some of the stuff that we were talking about last week, his 7-figure academy thing.
Yeah.
He just talked about, just to Matt's point of just not showing the perfect side of your business. I love Dan, Dan Kennedy gave an example, like, well, he'll, when, his clients would, at the time when they came out to him for a one-on-one consultation, a meeting, he's got stacks of books all over the place. And, he doesn't have everything scripted and perfectly laid out for the client. So,
right.
They come in and they see kind of like books everywhere. And then he shuffles off to a filing cabinet, pulls out stuff, and he's banging stuff, trying to find stuff while they're sitting there. It's obviously for a reason.
Yeah.
But he learned a long time ago not to present this, perfect, this perfect picture of what how things go. People responded much better to somebody that necessarily didn't always have it together or was working on the spot, so to speak.
Yeah, it's kind of like the old Columbo that we talked about before, like Detective Columbo. Like,
that's right.
Just kind of muddling through, but very intentional at the same time.
Absolutely.
Showing your weakness. So yeah, that's good stuff.
Yeah.
I think that's a great lesson. Be more vulnerable. I think that's what's working online. It's what's working in person.
Sure.
It can be scary, and you don't want to overdo it for sure. Like we talked about, you still, as Matt said, you still got to go through your positives.
Yeah.
But definitely working that in somewhere in your presentation makes a huge difference. Builds rapport and trust and all these things. So,
yep.
All right.
Good
well,
stuff.
Jonathan, I'll let you take it out.
Yeah. To all of our listeners, you find us over at persuasionabouthepint.com. You can find us on all of your platforms, all of the locations where fine podcasts are sold. And we will look forward to seeing you on the next episode. I hope you have a great weekend, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.
All right.